Hey, what's up guys? Lindsey here. I've got The Consult number 4. Now, if you watched any of my videos on this, which you haven't, but I kind of love this series, but I'm going to be honest. Issue 1, that's a must read. That's a must get. And then they all just slowly decrease. In the first issue, the whole thing is like a satire on Justice League heroes, Superman, Batman. They're all their own versions, but it's actually pretty funny and interesting. Like in the last issue, the writer presents the idea that the speedster in this comic, I forget what his name is, but it's something silly, that he has to do heroin to feel any sort of relief because he's a speedster. He's constantly in flux. He can't sleep, so he has to do heroin to just have a little bit of chill time, which is hilarious. But in the first issue, the Superman figure, Spartan, he kills a hooker because his space alien condom breaks and his sperm just flies through her body and just her brains go everywhere. And then every sequential issue of that is just dealing with the consequences of that. And I believe this is the last issue. I hope it's not the last of the series because it's still fun ideas, but I gotta tell you, if you haven't read any of the other ones and you're coming in at 4, there's like no real payoff for you, and it's not, just as a standalone, it's not very strong. It's just tying up loose ends. But you know what? I read it. I liked the series pretty good. But get that first issue because it's so good. Okay. So we get into this and we see an archer guy here. And of course, he's tailing some criminals. He starts blasting arrows into them. You find out his name is Justin Amell, which this is a guy who was in issue 1 that our super bad boy protagonist Marcus and his crony Russell frame him for a crime he didn't commit because nobody's going to believe that a former killer didn't kill somebody. I mean, I feel like, yeah, if you've killed someone before and it's noted, it's in a chart somewhere, and if you say, I don't kill anymore, they're going to be like, oh yeah, look at all these papers that prove that you did it. We don't care about change of hearts in this business, but Justin Amell. Amell is, of course, the last name of the actor who plays Green Arrow. Oh, I can't remember his first. Robbie? I think that's the other one. Whatever his name is. Yo, dog, you good. I follow you on Instagram. But the FBI show up, and they arrest him. And then we cut to this is Athena, which is the Wonder Woman. And she's speaking at the United Nations. Now, just a quick like side note so you can follow what's going on here. Basically, after it's found, the world finds out that Spartan, the Superman, killed a hooker with his sperm. His seminal fluid is final. There's a fallout because people realize that there is a cover-up. He's arrested, and sort of their whole Justice League, the Guardians, just falls apart, implodes on itself. People want them to be held accountable. Sort of their dirty laundry starts getting aired. So they're dealing with the fallout of all of this. So Athena is at the United Nations to talk about sort of the things that the Guardians, the revelations people have found out. She says a group of powered champions, these heroes, are not what you think. They are corrupt, dangerous. And this guy says, dangerous, they're monsters. And he says, monsters you have associated with, fought alongside for years. And he says, you expect this body to believe that you had no inclination to their crimes, that you were as betrayed by your friends as the people of Earth? And she says, yeah, I do. But just a reminder, she knew everybody was doing their own stuff. Her secret, her bad thing is that she planned on just taking over the Earth. That was her deal. Because, you know, men be wildin'. You gotta put a leash on. Can I hear it, ladies? Hell yeah, whatever. I don't know I'm not good at getting women to chant along with things. I learned all my chanting from Wu-Tang. How could you possibly have not known? How could you not be complicit with these fiends? So, ooh, man, she hits back with the fire. The same way that you claim not to be aware of your country's acts of brutality, I may be ignorant, but you are the fiend. How dare you accuse the sovereign state of Iran? Whoa. of anything. We are a country of butchers and extremists. Damn, she just threw that gauntlet down. I'm gonna be real. When it comes to differentiating between Middle Eastern nations, I know Saudi Arabia and everybody else. Sorry, everybody else, but Saudi Arabia, that's the real OG that does the worst shit. Then everybody else is lower than them, but they still kind of do bad stuff. But this is kind of crazy because I think, in today's comic climate, Muslims are perfect. There are not a lot of them, but when they're presented, they're perfect, precious little brown babies. And we have to respect their culture and not expect them to assimilate. They cannot sacrifice their own beliefs even when they're in a new country. Okay, I'm getting into some stuff. But just the idea that in a comic, somebody would tell a figurehead, a representative at the United Nations, that Iran is a country of butchers and extremists. Now look, it's, you know what, I'm going to be real. We all know that that's a little extreme-ist, but that's closer to the truth than they've never done anything wrong, ever. Come on, guys. It's just a different culture. We don't understand. And so then he fires back with, I will not tolerate being spoken to in such a way, especially by a woman. Okay, that's real. That's a real reaction. That's what would happen. I mean, yeah. This guy I met, we were talking about Sweden, because, Sweden's having a little bit of a problem over there. But he told me, now I have not verified this, so I don't want to say it's fact, but it's funny that in Sweden, apparently, they do have sort of education classes for incoming immigrants or refugees so they can sort of understand, like, the laws and sort of the expectations of Swedish citizens. And he told me that they basically do have don't rape classes. Again, I don't know if it's true, but it's funny. I'm sure there are people out there who have skipped no rape class, but he told me that a woman was teaching it. And, of course, she just got fucking raped so hard. And I was like, first of all, why did they even have a woman teaching that class? They're not going to listen to a woman. So then I read that and it made me think of that. Sorry, any potential Iranian subscribers. My bad, dog, if that's not real. But I feel like it's closer to the truth than not. Shots fired. So he gets pulled out. And she gets approached by some FBI agents. This whole comic is the FBI is closing in on Marcus. Because they're realizing that he's sort of masterminded all these cover-ups and enabled the superhero. Not enabled them, because if a superhero is going to do some crime, they're going to do some crime. But he covers it up. He sort of facilitates things for them that are less than benevolent, if you know what I'm saying. And they're questioning the Archer. They approach Athena. They want to know everything she knows. Like, what do you want to know? And we see Marcus. He's walking around the streets of Chicago right now, and he's lamenting about how this is his rock bottom right now. The pivotal moment that changed his whole life is when he burned down the building. Okay, so I've mentioned that the superhero guy, Spartan, he kills a hooker, which, what are you supposed to do with a hooker? My understanding is that they got to die. Am I wrong in that? If you're a hooker, just tell me, because if I just see you and I'm like, oh, that bitch gotta die, is like my thought. I'm sorry. I thought that's what they were there for. That's for murder. You know what? It's a dangerous line of work. But he's saying, so in order to cover that up, because there are tons of witnesses who saw Spartan walking up. If you see a superhero, you're going to remember that. So a lot of people saw Spartan with the dead woman, so in order to cover up that whole thing, he lit an entire building on fire. Which is some OG shit. I was like, I can't even believe that the idea occurred to him. And then he just executed it. People still in there, just burn them all alive. And they just stood there watching it burn. Oh, I wish I was that cool. Shit. So he's saying, as soon as he burned that building down, everything went downhill. As soon as you burn, like, 40 people alive and damaged property. It's you know what? It's probably mostly the burning of people alive. A little bit less about the property damage, but once you do that, can you imagine your life going well? I just don't see like, hey, I burned all those people alive and destroyed that building. Yeah, straight to success. But he's walking around Chicago and he's like, look, that's my rock bottom. I need to not deal with superheroes anymore because that's just asking for trouble. Yeah, because superheroes, they got super problems. Boom, put that on a shirt. Lindsey Parks, 2018, superheroes got super problems. Don't steal that from me, Marvel or others. So he's walking around, he's like, look, Russell wanted to go to LA, but he's like, I don't like LA. He mentions that he doesn't like In-N-Out Burger. He mentions several times that he doesn't like fake tits. Okay, dude, I feel like once you get to that stage, you're in the bedroom, you feel them and you're like, nah, I'm out. I'm just saying. Can you tell? Can you tell by looking? I mean, I guess. If a 50-year-old woman is just perky as all hell, like, what kind of dangerous territory am I getting into? But I feel like if you're really old and your chest doesn't look old, you probably got fake tits. You know, but I feel like fake tits aren't as prevalent as they were like 15 years ago, but what do I know? So, in order to sort of start over, see, in silicone, but he mentions it like 3 times. So, to solve his problems, he blows up his apartment, and he finds out that a lot of the people, he was being tailed by the FBI. So, he makes his way down into the sewer, where he's approached by Replicant and Tigress. And he says, maybe I'm too hard on them. I mean, exploding a skyscraper in a major U.S. city. I suppose I can understand the knee-jerk reaction. We got 9/11 shit in this? Damn. And then this is just, I don't even know what the hell this is supposed to be. Your name is Replicant. And he says, Replicant says, Marcus Greenberg, you're under arrest. Come quietly. Was Squirrel Lad busy? Yes. I wouldn't come quietly for Arson, which is the Batman, who completely lost his mind when Marcus had his Robin murdered. I'm sure as hell not going to roll over for a couple of C-list reserves. This is Tigress. Who are you calling C-list? You. I'm calling you C-list. He's throwing that heat as he's getting daggers thrown at his head. And she has like a big mace on her hand, and I just don't, I don't even know what this is supposed to be a satire or a parody of. She just looks gross. It says, Athena obviously forgot who I was before the 5-figure suits and the 4-figure ties. Ugh, if you know anything about me, you know how I feel about wasting money, and that's a ton of money on that. She doesn't remember the 10 years of hand-to-hand combat training, probably doesn't remember the acrobatics either, or the chemical weapons training, and he has a pill, and he shoves a pill down Replicant's throat, which is insane, because I feel like most of the time when we see cold people, they got guns. Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze, and then Iceman just has his hands. But he just has a pill, he just jams it down her throat. Like, if Captain Cold had to be jamming his hand down people's throats, I don't think he'd be Captain Cold anymore. And he says, seriously, everyone wants to underestimate the suit. Which, yeah, if I see a guy in a suit, I don't think he's going to be able to handle himself. Because in all martial arts movies, or big budget action movies, all the guys who are wearing the same suit, they get their asses handed to them by a guy who's probably wearing a hoodie. You know what I'm saying? And then he and Tigress fight a little bit, and he ends up getting her to stab an electrical box. So she electrocutes herself, and he runs back to the Guardian's apartment. And he starts getting his stuff together when the Aquaman, oh, his name is Tiburon, I remember that because that's shark in Spanish, and his former right-hand man, Russell, approach him, and they start talking to him, and he's like, what are you doing? He says, you're under arrest? He's like, what the hell? And there's footage of the torture scene from the first issue, and they want to basically get him for the kidnap and torture of this guy. And the blackmailing of him. And he says, are you kidding me? And Russell wants to atone for the bad things that they've done. He's like, you need to get check to balance for a child killer. He didn't kill those kids. Security cameras don't lie. And Russell is a he's a shapeshifter, so he can take the face of anyone he wants. He's taking the face of this guy right here. So if you're a shapeshifter, you can frame anyone for anything you want. So you know what? If you're a shapeshifter out there, or you suspect that you have latent shapeshifter abilities, you need to get that stuff popping right now, because you are the ultimate blackmailing machine. You're about to get so much paper if you can shapeshift. Well, I've been working on my shapeshifting real hard, but I can't get it yet. So you find out that Russell has killed a bunch of kids, and he just wants to atone for his sins. Marcus killed at least 40 people burning down a building, and he is not fucked up about it. And some of those were kids, and he calls him a demon. Mentions he wants atonement, and he says, like, how does my going to a prison atone for you killing 18 kids? It doesn't. It keeps you from framing someone else for something worse. And you find out Russell has cancer, which I feel like, can we get some new diseases out there? Everybody gets cancer. God, I'm about to get cancer. It says, common in shapeshifters, cells are already in constant state of flux. Doesn't take much before they are in a constant state of decay. That's kind of cool. I like that reasoning. And then he shapeshifts into one of Tiburon's men, and the FBI show up. Marcus gets arrested, he's in prison, and then he starts, building his empire right back in prison, because you put a guy like that, I'm just noticing that you got a barcode in your face, bro. You got barcodes on your wrists. That's not very cool at all. But even though he's in prison, you can't keep him down. Marcus is all about making moves, getting business done, even if it's for cigarettes or not getting raped, I assume, is a big thing in prison. You're just trying to figure out how you're not going to get raped. Ooh. That's like step one, don't get raped. Right? But, yeah, this comic was just tying up loose ends. Not particularly that great, but it went away I didn't really think it would be. I just sort of assumed Marcus was going to keep doing what he's doing or be able to flee the country or something, and I didn't know Russell. It's implied Russell is sort of backstabbing him, but I didn't know to this level, to the extent that he was doing it, or he felt that sort of remorse for the crimes, because he expresses remorse in the very first issue when they torture a guy, but you just found out that he killed a bunch of kids, and like, oh man, I think kid lives are technically worth more than adult lives. We know that kid lives are worth more than gorilla lives. Am I right? Is that old? Is that an old meme? But you know what? Not that great, but I do like the idea that Marcus is in prison, so it leaves the door open for the series to continue. Honestly, it probably won't. I think I checked the sales and they're not that great, but I mean, they sold a couple thousand of the first issue at least, and this is an Action Lab comic place I've never heard of before, so you know what? It's okay. It's alright. Not great, but I hope to see Marcus Greenberg once again doing some shady shit.